Greetings, gardeners. It's another day in the nursery. Nursery's a job. Every day, you got to go out and have a look at stuff, see how it's doing, decide what to do next. If you want a job, start a nursery. If you want to make money, invest in the stock market or real estate. But if you want a job and you can make a little money off of a job, a nursery's one way to keep you busy. These days, nursery mostly keeps me busy. Again, I make most of my income off the stock market, but this one does pay hand-to-hand cash money that comes in on a steady basis, and it helps cover a lot of the bills here. I guess if I was more interested in making more money with it, I could expand, but I'm doing all right. So anyway, so a nursery is a job, and there are tasks that need to be performed all the time. And so let's take a walk around here, look at the tables, and I'll point out some of the things that I'm going to have to do today. Well, I'm looking over the tables, and as usual, the first two things that will catch my attention. One is there's a big empty space. I sold out all the papayas, so I need to fill that space. Empty table space is, well, it's a waste of space. It also isn't as attractive to people who come shopping. You don't buy from empty tables, you buy from full ones, and so keeping them full is a key. Next thing I see here, and this one's non-stop weeds. There's some ground cress here. Stupid stuff comes up everywhere. Here's some more of them. Yep, same stuff. Sometimes I don't know if this stuff comes in my potting soil or where it came from, but it's all over now. So, checking the inventory level, checking the weeds, pulling the weeds, because of course the weeds will eat the fertilizer in your pots, the weeds will use up the water in the containers, they'll compete with your plants, and so your plants aren't going to do so well. Plus, you know, selling plants with weeds in them, you just don't want to do that. Or, even if you're using the plants in your own garden, you still don't want to be cultivating the weeds. So, we check the moisture. And today, looks pretty good. I don't have to walk around. I got a few plants here that dry out faster than others, so when I get around to them, we'll figure that out. But it doesn't look like I need to water immediately today. Next thing, check for damage. Right here, for instance, see that? This meringue got chewed up. Oh, it's even worse here. Now, the other day I went through here and I took that flat apart and I found 2 slugs in it. I don't see any new damage, so I guess I got them. I have to use bait for the slugs around the nursery, and then I also have to go through and just literally take flats apart periodically. They get inside the flats, and you can't get them out of there, so the only way you can do it is take everything out of the flat, look for the slug, kill them. Of course, Hawaii having problems with the semi-slug. Be careful, because the rat lungworm is an issue, and so when I go after slugs, I usually chop them up with a pruning shear or stick them with a landscape staple or something like that, so I'm not handling them. But no matter what, after I get finished, I wash my hands. Inventory level, weed control, check for water, and look for pests. Those are the major ones right there, and that has to be done every day. And like I said, my major pest out here is a slug, but there are a few crops that can also get the white fly. Like peppers are problems with that here. I don't get too much pest problem on most of the rest of this stuff. It seems like it's pretty immune. So then the other thing to say about it is there are different categories of nursery stock. Most plants are generalists, and so same soils, same fertilizers, same watering schedule, same light is good for a large portion of the plants on the planet. But we have, as you can see over here, this is my lime tree. I have shade plants underneath the canopy of the lime tree. So some plants require a shaded location to grow. Sometimes when you're striking cuttings, it's good to have a shaded location for the cuttings to root. If you put them out in full sun, even if they're full sun plants, they will burn up. So in the nursery, having flexible lighting. is important. I only grow maybe about 10 or 20% plants that like shade and 80% plants that like sunshine. So most of my stock is out here in the sun. But that is a distinction. It's an important one. There's also another distinction, and it has to do with soil mediums and fertilizers. You won't get good results if you use the same medium and fertilizer on everything. Now, I'd say 80% of what I grow will work fine in conventional potting soils and grow mixes with conventional fertilizers, albeit time release, liquid or organics. It doesn't really matter too much as far as the plants are concerned. But there are plants like gardenias, azaleas, rhododendrons, camellias, for instance. They all love acid. They like an acid culture. And so having an acetic mix for them and acetic fertilizers is a really good idea if you want good results, especially if your tap water happens to run out at a high pH. If you say in California, we had 7 to sometimes even 8 in the tap water, and that will make a gardenia turn yellow, so you need to adjust the pH for them. So continuing the walkabout here, I'm seeing an oddity. I got the jicama on the table is blooming in fall this year for some reason. That's odd. I don't know why it's doing it. But then again, my vanilla beans are making a second, or vanilla orchids are making a second flowering, and I don't know why either. So I don't understand everything. The guy with all the answers doesn't have them all. I think the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know very much. Well, let's see. Here, I see this. This is dryness. That was from dehydration, I think. Yeah, leaf wasn't broken off. So let's look here. It's no longer dry, but it looks like that Royal Poinciana got dry at some point in the past. And so if there's anybody out there wondering, why does Bill's stuff always look so good? Well, I'll tell you what, this is why. I walk every day. I don't necessarily work every day out here, but I do observe. I observe. Okay, sold a bunch of Jamaican passion vines yesterday, and since they get down there on the floor, we want them picked up. Vanilla orchids are looking pretty good. Yeah, it's all about observation. It's beautiful. It's all about looking. Green thumb gardeners, 80% observation and only 20% action. It's the black thumb gardeners that are the other way around. 80% of the time they're in action, but they only make 20% in analysis and observation, and so they usually do the wrong thing. So, observing, looking for insect damage, looking for growth, looking for possible fertilizer shortage, looking for weeds, of course, looking for size and germination. Because back here, we're on a table where I'm growing. In other words, there's seeds and stuff. These are not for sale yet, but things are starting to happen over here. I see that the Jaboticaba collection here from Brazil is coming up. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So this is Plinia grandiflora. They're coming up. They're not big enough to transplant yet, but they're getting there. For space, I use 6-packs generally. These 6-packs for sprouting the seeds. Once they come up, then I begin transplanting upward in size. Looks like lemon drop mangosteen is starting to come up over here. Got a few of those. And looks like cabbage and kohlrabi and Vidalia, or Maui onions, are also looking pretty good over here. Almost time to get them out in the field. Right over here I got my koa trees covered up. Darn cardinals bust them all off. See, right here, for instance, see that little stub. Observation, again, that's what it's all about. It's observation. I wasn't sure who was doing that to my koa trees. And then one morning I woke up early and saw the cardinal out here on the table. So now I know from observation that I need to grow my Hawaiian koa trees under guard. Otherwise, the darn cardinals pull all the seedlings up. Looks like they're gone. I don't see any more cardinal damage here. Some passion vines need to get transplanted. That's the Garcinia dulcis. It's a relative of the mangosteen. I see that one is growing real nice and strong here. It's ready to put that into a different pot. See, it's all about observation. There is no way that that seed took itself out of that hole. This is the stupid cardinals again. It looks like, man, if I want to get any anonas, I'm going to have to go ahead and put a lid over this. Stupid birds. Pull everything up they find. I don't like them at all. Too bad they aren't good to eat. Yeah, that's a problem. So again, observation, trying to figure out what you're seeing. I'm having an anota problem here. Because cardinals seem to like to pick the seeds out of the soil. Well, this morning what I see is it's probably about time that I get all these koa trees into 4-inch pots. So after wandering around in the nursery, I noticed that my koa trees needed transplanting, so they're today's project here. I try to find a project every day to work with out there. That way I stay on schedule and we keep the plants coming, so we always have something for people, always have something for me. Right here was the flat of koa trees I saw on the table. It was ready to go. This is perfect for transplanting. And here is the finished product where we've gone ahead and transplanted all of them into 3.5-inch pots. I'm going to put them up for sale in 3.5-inch pots. They'll probably be ready in about 2 weeks. This tree grows very fast. So it's going to sit in the back of the nursery for a couple of weeks, but then it's going to be ready to go out on the table. And at that point, it should have rooted into the pot pretty well. If they haven't sold in about a month and a half or so, then I'm going to end up putting these into gallon containers, shifting up one more. By the time I get to that point here, if I still have them laying around, well, then I'm either going to probably stick them in the field on the farm or push them off on a friend that doesn't have a koa tree or something and get them out of here. I don't like to do 5-gallon containers. They're heavy, blah, blah, blah. It's just not my speed here. I like the small pots. These are about 14 days old. We found them out there in the nursery. Transplanted them into 3.5-inch pots today. In about 2 weeks, maybe 3, they should end up looking like this. This is sale size. Okay, this tree is probably about 5 inches tall or so. It's pretty stout. It's got some stiffness to it, and so it can be knocked around, handled just a little bit. This is a size that you want to put them back out on the table for sale. If you're transplanting it to the field on your own property, it's probably a little small. You're better off with something slightly heavier. It will just be better, so I'll let it go for another 3 weeks or so. There you go, and so there you have it, folks. Another day in the nursery. Nursery, 80% observation, only 20% action usually. So you're spending a lot of time out there looking around, making sure everything else is doing fine. If you're a good nursery person, you're going to walk that nursery every day. You're going to look over what you see. You can analyze the situation. You're going to make a plan as to where to go next, what to do today, what's important, what can wait, and so on. But it's constant. It's constant. You go into a store, you see all the plants sitting there. Well, it looks pretty static, but stuff is always flowing. It's a flow of materials, it's a flow of work, it's a workload, and so on. So, like I say, if you need a job, hey, start a plant nursery. If you want to make money, invest in the stock market. Aloha, gardeners. Have a wonderful day. And I'm kind of teasing because I made most of my living in the nursery over the years.